Howdy, howdy. It's me, that broken... Excuse me. It's me, that broken brain bitch. And welcome to my new series, Will It Work? I take an idea for a deck, build it, test it out online, and refine it into its most powerful form. Start your engines, ladies and gentlemen, because we've got some vehicular manslaughter to attend to. But it might not be the opponents who's getting splattered. Boom, headshot. Welcome to the Ghirapur Grand Prix. We've got vehicles of all shapes and sizes, and they all go vroom. But the real question is, do they win games? That's the question I'm here to answer. With that in mind, let's do some deck building. Okay, here we go. So I do the very first thing that comes to mind and look up vehicles. It's important to note, and you can see it on the page already, there's not a lot of cards here. And that is because I typed in vehicles plural instead of vehicle singular. There are many more cards, especially once you consider all the colors. There's quite a few cards that are vehicle. And it takes me a moment or two to come to that realization. But what I have so far is looking like red-white. So I go ahead and just go on with that. I look up vehicle and I get a few more options. And the deck is looking pretty slick. 4 ofs of everything. And that makes me really happy. Of course, though, we've got to fix the lands a little bit. We have some dual lands that I can put in, like the Inspiring Vantage and the Abraded Bluffs. I considered the Battle Forge, but it didn't seem right, so I just didn't include it. And there you go. Once I re-establish the lands, and I apply all the styles, and I do all of that, we have a deck. Pretty cool. Boros vehicles. And of course, for every deck, you want to have a nice theme, you know? So it's Chandra the motorcyclist, Stone something steed, and the only card back that's appropriate, I don't know what it's called, but it's the only one that's appropriate in this situation. And there we go. So after scouring the card library and doing some analysis, I concluded that white-red was the best color combinations for this kind of deck. This is almost entirely because of Kaladin Triumph Caster. This bad boy is the heart of the deck. When you have him, it's smooth sailing. Unfortunately, this is best of 1, so everybody's packing removal. And often he gets removed the turn that you play him, which is a really big problem for this deck. But I'll get into that later. Some other highlights are Spot Cycle Scouter and Air Response Unit. Both are stellar at what they do, providing pressure and scrying and flying. Pretty good. This deck looks clean with all of its 4 ofs. Let's see how she performs. Okay, I'm just going to be honest with you. This deck is not so great as it is. But this was just the first edition. I have a powerful zeal about making this deck work. It's just so cool. Alrighty then, nothing left to do but fix this bitch up. So, here we are. It's the final product. This is the culmination of over 5 hours of testing, tweaking, experimenting with green, which proved to be quite powerful, but was terribly inconsistent. Amongst other various changes, so on and so forth, etc., vis-a-vis. I've tried my damnedest to get this deck to work. So, will it work? Well, let's talk first. Okay, let's talk about some of the changes that made their way into the final cut. I took out Void's Glide Car and Kickoff Celebrations because they felt weak during testing, and I mean, it was not pretty. I tried a build that cared about speed synergy, but it fell flat on its face, so that was a no-go. Anyway, I put a couple of Brightfield gliders to replace them. I also knocked down most of my 4-ofs to make room for Trained Arynx, Gastel Thrill Roller, Ride's End, and Clamorous Ironclad. The only remaining 4-ofs in the whole deck are Kaladin Triumphcaster and Clamorous Ironclad. Let's see how she performs. Here we are! Tragic Zero is our opponent. Let's see just how powerful they really are. Starting out pretty good. No cheating, unfortunately. I do consider healing to be cheating, because it is. That being said, I cheat every chance I can get. But unfortunately, I do not have any cheating in this deck. So you gotta play it fair and square. Interface Ace coming up big. Although it's not terribly significant. Because they have a fucking Market Gnome. A 0-3. It just blocked 2 damage. Okay, let's keep track of that. It blocked 2 damage so far. Opponent plays a Candy Trail. They get to scry 2 times, and they can sacrifice it to gain 3 health. They're cheaters! And it comes in big for them. But will it be enough? Scry 1 to the bottom, 1 to the top. That's fairly average, I would say. That's a pretty good scry. Gives a little double take there on the blocking. I have the Gastel Thrill Roller coming in big. Coming in big. Coming in hefty. And as always, the Interface Ace is there and willing and capable of crewing any of the vehicles that I show desire. They block with the Market Gnome, so that's 2 more damage that they've blocked, making it 4 damage. Pay attention to this. This is going to be on the test. 4 damage. But I get the Cloudspire Captain, and now the math is in my favor. I get to crew both of my vehicles, and I almost make the mistake of crewing with the Cloudspire Captain. The 0-4 is technically better at blocking, but I want to have the 2-3 available for blocking because that can actually trade, or at least do some damage to one of their blockers, making it inadvisable for them to attack in the first place. So, we hit them. They block 3 more damage with the Market Gnome. And what does that make? 7! So they've blocked 7 damage. They have a candy trail and a food, so that's 6 more damage, 6 more HP for them. So, if you were to balance everything out, 7 minus 6 is 1. They would have 1 less health right now if they used all of their healing the next turn. But they don't. Because they have more important things to play. Like, they can't just skip a turn to heal 6. You know, like, if they do that, they're pretty much dead. Because I will be developing the board and gaining more and more damage. And if you think about it, I could have won that turn had they not, like, if they played it the same and they didn't have the market gnome, they would have been dead on my previous turn. Which is so frustrating. So extremely frustrating that something as simple as a 0-3 makes the difference in a game like this. It's pretty wild, but I can still pull it out. I can still get a win here. They do have a 3-4 now with flying, and that is really annoying. That is an excellent stat line against this deck. We don't really have big hitters. Like, we're a tempo deck, but we don't really have a finisher. And that's one of the biggest problems with this deck, is that, you know, like, you play out your creatures and your vehicles, and if they have removal for either of them, then you're pretty much fucked. You can scrape by with the highway robberies, but in all honesty, it's just not good enough. And here I have 2 air response units, so I'm like, okay, I'll just go ahead and get rid of 1 so I can draw a couple of cards. But I think that this was the biggest mistake I've made this entire game. Because I could have sacrificed a land and it would have been immediately replenished. I didn't know that, but I didn't need it to be replenished. I had 4 mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, yep, 4 mana. And that is 1 more than I need to play the air support. So I could have discarded a land, kept the other air assault, the air response unit, and I could have played it next turn. So, you know, that, I'm not sure if that would have turned the tides, but it definitely would have helped. Definitely would have helped. Anyways. They block, we attack, they go down to 3, but they still have more healing. More fucking cheating, this cheating bastard. They put down a big boy, and I am in trouble. Neither of these cards are going to help me very much. Well, no, the Rides In does deal with the 5/6, so that's a pretty big deal. But there's still the 3/4. Like, I am thoroughly losing my lead. Slowly but surely, opponent is scraping together more and more and more. And it's quickly becoming too much for me to handle. So I'm Like, I'm just hoping beyond hope that getting rid of the 5/6 is going to be enough. They only have 2 more cards, but they have 2 good units on the field. And it's just not looking so great for us right now. But the game isn't over yet. The game is not over yet. I can still pull this out. That's what she said. Anyways, I'm deciding on whether or not I want to swing with the 4-2, and I think I do. Because at the worst, it trades like that. And at best, they forget how to block, and I win the game. But alas, they have enough mana to activate the bear trap, and my Paladin is kaput. And that's pretty much the nail in the coffin. The last nail in the coffin. Interface Ace is pretty nice here. This is my last hurrah. But it just isn't enough. They go down to 1 at worst. But they have healing. So really they're at 5 right now. Not 3. No, they're at 6, not 3. I can do I can do counting. I know how to count. I don't know what I'm doing at this point. But it doesn't matter. There just ain't nothing to say. I gotta be entertaining. Hello? Ooh, strawberries. This is my final hurrah. They know it. And the Braided Bluffs is the last draw. And that is game. Good game. Catch y'all later. So this deck has some quirks, let's call them. The best card in the deck, Paladin Triumph Caster, is a 2-drop. Okay, so far so good. What about the next best card in the deck? Well, that's gotta be Sport Cycle Scouter. It's well statted for its cost, and it scries too. What's not to love? Well, it also costs 2 mana. This causes so much consternation. You have no idea. 19 out of the 31 non-land cards in the deck are 2-drops. And there's almost no getting around this. I've looked through every vehicle, mount, and exhaust card in the format, and there aren't enough 3-drops to make the deck more consistent. But even if there were more 3-drops, it really wouldn't matter that much, because the payoff of drawing the nuts curve isn't that powerful. Imagine this. Turn 1 Brightfield Glider, good start. Turn 2 Paladin, fantastic. Into turn 3 Air Response Unit. Chef's kiss. That's the best curve this deck has to offer. Well, let's think about it. You get a flying 3/3 with Vigilance and Haste, a 1/1, and a 2/3. Big whoop. What's that going to do against Valgavoth on turn 3? Zombified Valgavoth. It does nothing. And God forbid your opponent have any kind of removal, because this deck, even with the highway robberies, doesn't have the lasting power to take a punch and keep going. It's very much a glass cannon kind of build. But the bang just ain't worth it. So, how's about a conclusion? I wanted this deck to work. I tried desperately to get it to work. But I can't do it. Maybe there's somebody out there with a bigger, wrinklier brain than mine who can take up the cause and make a good vehicles deck. But you ain't gonna see it from me. The reality is, this deck will not work. You would hope that a deck that adheres to the theme of the expansion it was released in would be better than this. But it is what it is. So, will it work? This time? Nope. Not even close. And that's all she wrote. If you made it this far, you're a fucking legend. And I hope that your coffee is always the right temperature. Good luck and have fun out there, y'all. And I'll see you in the next one.